Welcome back to another episode of Tea with ALSA. Today we're joined with an incredible individual. At only the age of 15, Junada designed an app to counter gender-based violence with two of her friends. She joins us today. Thank you so much, Junada, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
It's really exciting to have you. We've been talking for a while, and this app is something that, I think is something we need to share more on a wider basis, and I'm really excited for you to be here. So kind of to kick things off, the first question I have is, when you came to this idea of designing an app, why did you go with something like domestic abuse and like gender-based violence?
Yeah, so me and my friends, we were all pretty young when we started working on the app, and there was actually there's a lot of people who had the same question because they were like, "You're so young. How could you think about such a major issue? How did you think that you could tackle this sort of problem?" But the thing is that to us, it came very naturally because we were three young girls growing up in Albania in an extremely patriarchal society. And I know it seems like when you're young, there's a lot of things that you don't understand, but I think kids and teenagers are extremely perceptive. And we live through that reality. We live in this society, and we do notice the differences, and we do notice what's going on. And we had noticed gender-based violence. We had noticed gender inequality in our everyday lives. And in that period of time when we started working on the app and we were brainstorming ideas, there were a lot of headlines on the news about women being abused and even like murdered by their partners. And that stuff is tragic, and it really like sticks with you when you hear something like that. Especially when you're a girl, you think that could happen to me in the future. And that's why we decided that this was the issue that we were going to create an app about, and we were all very passionate about it, obviously.
Yeah, gender-based violence is, even now, I think just a week ago, I've been seeing on Instagram these images going around of an organization sticking names of women on different streets in Tirana. So it's an issue that's very prevalent, especially in the Albanian community. You mentioned that you were very aware of like gender-based discrimination as you were growing up. With older generations, I'd say it was quite a stigmatized conversation to have, and there was like a taboo around it. Would you say that was a bit different in your experience growing up? How much exposure and like discussion was there around this?
Honestly, not much when I was growing up. Maybe now that I'm a little bit more grown up, things are a little bit different. But when I was growing up, there were almost no conversations about it. I feel like it was still very much stigmatized. It was still very much a taboo conversation. We almost never talked about it in schools. If anything, it was kind of, you could see it in schools too, the way girls and boys were treated. It's, I think that's when young girls like me first started to notice the difference in how girls and boys were treated in schools. And when you leave like your family, when you leave your nest and you first get to see how the world really is outside of your house, that's when you start to notice things that maybe aren't quite right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really, really impressive that you were able to recognize that in your own experience and kind of decide amongst yourselves that you want to do something to contribute to that change. So you came to this idea of creating something to counter that problem. Could you talk to us a bit about how you set up this app? Maybe talk about the Technovation competition you entered and how you came across that opportunity.
Yeah. So one of my friends that was in my team. She had been part of the Technovation Challenge for 4 years at that point. She was very experienced. And because we were friends, she'd been trying to get me to join for a very long time. And I was like, I'm not really interested in technology. And then finally I decided to join because I understood kind of that it was much more than just about technology. You could actually find a solution or try to address a problem that you are passionate about. And the competition it's an international competition, and it's focused only on girls, where girls kind of like group up in teams and they create an app about a problem in their community. And obviously, the aim of the competition is to get girls into fields like technology that are mainly male dominated. Mm-hmm. And that was actually in and of itself, without the topic that we decided we were going to discuss with our app, just being surrounded by other girls who were part of this competition and were working to solve issues in their communities all around the world, just in and of itself. That experience was extremely empowering. Here in Albania, the competition is supported by the U.S. Embassy, mm-hmm. and they provide a lot of the materials that girls need to work with, and the spaces where they gathered and worked together. There's been other teams, wonderful teams of girls who went to semifinals. One of my friend's teams had previously entered the semifinals before, and we were the first one from Albania to enter the finals. Amazing. And win the competition.
That's really incredible. And I think what's really incredible about something like this competition is really a lot of the time what individuals and like young people need is kind of to have the resources and the tools, and then they're given that sort of creative space to come up with ideas to make a change. But having said that, on the flip side, I can imagine it was also quite overwhelming to be given these opportunities and these tools and being told, okay, you can come up with a solution. I can imagine that can be quite daunting. You don't know where to start maybe, or how to kind of begin such a puzzle. How did you find that experience?
It was difficult and it was scary. I'm not going to lie. Mostly, at least for me, because I had never done anything like this before. But we did work very well as a team, and all of the ideas we came up with together, and the fact that I wasn't alone, but I was in a part of a team, it definitely made things a little bit better. But I had never had any experience similar to this. Before that, it had just been school for me. I had just been focused in academics, and I was almost oblivious to this whole other world of things that I could do. It was a little bit difficult starting up. In the beginning, coming up with an idea, trying to design, trying to create an app that could solve as many of the issues that are connected to gender-based violence. I think in the end we did manage to do that. So when you see the final product and you're happy with it, you kind of forget about all the difficulties that you may have had in the past.
Yeah, I can imagine it's completely worth it. And I think once you kind of get into a rough idea, you're able to use your team to motivate you and find different aspects that work. So you mentioned teamwork and how that was quite a relief, and it helped you kind of stay motivated. How did you go about kind of delegating work and tapping into each other's strengths to create a final product?
I think we worked really well, mostly because each one had like a very specific set of skills. We kind of divided like the work between us from the beginning. Yeah. and that wasn't that hard really, because each one was like doing their own thing, and then we came together, and it was like, this is what we've done, now let's just put all of our individual work together,
Yeah.
and it just worked.
Yeah, I really love that. I think there can be sometimes pressure to like do things by yourself and like, I want to create this app and I want to be the one to like solve this problem. But there's so much value in teamwork and having different resources and different knowledge. And I think it's something we've seen with the ALSA organization as well. The more we've grown over this past year, the more we've been able to do. I mean, this podcast, for example, wouldn't be possible if we didn't have so many people on the team working on it. So that's really awesome. So if we talk a bit about the app, I mean, I want to say one of my favorite features is the kind of the 30-day myth challenge. It's very hard to choose a favorite feature because there's a lot of things I love about it. But with that one in specifically, we've spoken before about some of the research I've done on coercive control. And, you know, there's this form of domestic abuse that's really psychological, and it can be quite hard to see any kind of physical signs of it because it's really a mental game between a victim and a perpetrator. And I think that's why I thought the 30-day challenge, myth challenge, was so impressive, because it taps into something that really only the victim is going through, where they're telling themselves certain things and there's been certain ideas drilled into their heads. But I think it can also be a very nuanced and difficult thing to understand. So how did you guys go about coming up with potential myths that a victim might be experiencing, and finding ways that you can educate them on why that myth is incorrect, but also be sensitive to the fact that they're in that situation and to them that feels like a reality? That's a very hearty question.
No, it is, but I love that question actually. So before you even go to the other menus of the app, before you go to the 30-day program, there's a very short assessment questionnaire that you take when you first download the app. Not every single time you enter it, just when you first download the app, and you're asked, I think it's maybe 5 questions. That you are asked about what you believe is true or not when it comes to gender-based violence, and that's a very short assessment questionnaire. But we thought it could be very helpful, especially because sometimes people are in abusive relationships and they don't see the signs, they don't see the red flags. And moving on from that, there's the 30-day program. The 30-day program consists of myth-breaking exercises, and then relaxation and meditation exercises, and also success stories of other women who have been in abusive relationships. And it's how we came up with the 30 myths about domestic violence and gender-based violence. It's a combination of a lot of research, things that we had heard, beliefs, like wrong beliefs that we had heard spoken by women, and that really hurts, you know, when you see women kind of like talking themselves down and believing things that aren't true about the relationships between men and women. And also our conversations, very, very prolonged conversations with a psychologist here in Albania. Her name is Bjerta Bodinaku. She's a PhD psychologist, and she was extremely helpful because obviously we knew some things about gender-based violence, and a lot of other things we could research. You know, there's a lot of information on the internet, maybe not enough information in Albanian, but there is information out there. But it's different when you're talking to an expert.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that definitely opened our eyes to a lot of aspects about gender-based violence and the psychology of someone who's been abused that we had no idea about before.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I think the reason the app, in my eyes, is you know, such an achievement is because it really is quite holistic, and it looks at all the different aspects of someone who's experiencing this. And the fact that you were able to, you know, talk to professionals and get their input really elevates it to another level. I said what my favorite part of the app was. What's your favorite feature of the app?
Oh, my favorite, and it's kind of, it's ironic because this is all of the team's favorite, but sometimes we forget to mention it. And it's the incognito feature.
Oh yeah,
And it's just, we're all so passionate about it because honestly, like, when it comes to the incognito feature, I think all of us kind of throw the humbleness out of the window because we're just so proud of it.
as you should, as you should.
We're just so proud of it. It's the incognito feature disguises the app as a calculator. Um, we came up. This was actually the last feature that we came up with. It wasn't originally part of the plan,
Right.
and then we thought, wait, but what if you know, sometimes the women who are in abusive relationships, they also lack privacy. Their phones
Absolutely.
are sometimes like constantly being checked, and we thought, wait, but what if an abusive partner finds this app on on her phone, and instead of, you know, being helpful, it actually increases, you know, the risk um, for the user. And that's how we decided that we needed this feature. We needed incognito feature to disguise the app, and it's actually quite easy and quite good because it also functions as an
Yeah,
actual calculator.
that's
You could
really
use it
cool.
as a calculator if you needed to. But when you press your password, a password that you set up yourself, and hit the equal button, it
Mhm.
takes you to the app. It takes you to GjejZa.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is a very cool feature. You should definitely not be humble about that. That's really cool. We've spoken about some of the really cool parts of the app, and it's obviously a massive success. What would you say? Because you mentioned that you'd never had an experience like this before, kind of looking into technology and creating an application. What would you say was the most challenging aspect of that?
Oh, the most challenging aspect. I think for me, I just didn't know where to get started with things.
Mm.
And I didn't have many connections. My family didn't have many connections growing up, and to make the app work, you needed connections. You know, we needed to meet up with businesses. We needed to meet up with organizations and experts and government officials, and that was very overwhelming for me in the beginning, because, as I said, I had never done anything like that before, and I never thought I would up until that point. You know, it's when you get started, everything is definitely very, very overwhelming, but then you get used to things. And what may have been overwhelming before starts to get exciting, and you start looking forward to
Yeah,
things. Um,
that's a really nice way to look at it. I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think it's just important to, appreciate that it is challenging at the start, and that's really what reflects that it will be a learning experience. Yeah, you guys definitely cracked the code and were able to make it happen, so it's obviously worked. Kind of moving on from the more specific features of the app, once you guys had finished the app and you'd been, invited to the finals of Technovation competition, you started being invited to different interviews and appearing on like Albanian TV. So you were on Top Channel and stuff like that. How was that experience? Because I can imagine it's really exciting to be on national television, but I can imagine it's also quite nerve wracking. How did you find that?
Very stressful in the beginning. But then, as I said, then you start getting used to things. Sometimes it was even funny, especially when we weren't just like being interviewed, but we were also being filmed doing our work. And
Yeah,
sometimes we had to like pretend that we were all talking about something important,
yeah, serious faces
and we
on.
had to like walk through the doors like 100 times to get the shot right.
I love that.
And sometimes it was very fun. Um, and honestly, it's been a very nice experience because it feels like you're being listened to. it feels like you're getting recognition for your work, but it's not just about the recognition that you're getting for your work and your accomplishments. It's about finally being listened to. I think as girls growing up in Albania, and this obviously happens all around the world, but
Yeah.
specifically being a girl in Albania, sometimes you feel like people aren't listening to you, especially when you're young. And we were young. We were still teenagers in high school, and I think that was at least for me very special. Just finally being listened to, and people asking questions about my own experiences. It was kind of shocking at first because I wasn't expecting people to actually want to listen to what I had to say.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think there's one video, I don't remember what channel it was, but there's like a panel of like professionals, I guess, and you guys have like zoomed in and you're speaking virtually, but it's really cool to have this older generation listening to your input. And I think it's the most important thing because you are the future generation, and the change will come hopefully from our generation. So that's really exciting.
That was actually one of our most important interviews, and honestly, it was very nerve-wracking, but it was also so exciting because there were all these people there, very important people in the media here in Albania, and then it was us,
Yeah.
just teenage girls still in high school talking about such a big issue, and it made me feel very I felt very emotional at some point, but I also felt very powerful. I have something to say, and you're listening to me, and you have to listen to me. So that's it's a kind of experience that you don't get to live every day. When you're so young, and most of the time you feel very small, very significant, and there's a moment like that where you feel powerful, where you feel like you have all the power in the world, and your voice is being listened to by everyone, not just your peers or teachers at school or your parents at home, but nationwide.
It's so incredible, and I think powerful is the right word. Even as a listener listening onto it, I definitely felt a sense of power and real pride seeing three young Albanian girls. And kind of tapping into that feeling, would you say this experience as a whole, I can imagine, boosted your confidence? Did it inspire you to think, you know what, I can make some changes in the realm that I have, and kind of feel powerful in that sense?
Yes, it absolutely did. I think this experience it changed me completely, and it changed my life. I don't think I would be where I am right now if it wasn't for my experience with Technovation. I think that's where my life actually started. And because the way we grow up here in Albania, our parents always encourage us. They encourage us to do well in school.
Yeah.
But not much like beside school and academics. You're not really encouraged to take part in competitions or do volunteer work. It's not seen as an important thing to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that way growing up either, because that's not how I was raised. And then Technovation opened my eyes to this whole new world and entire world of possibilities, things that I could do.
I'm really glad you said that, because I think we can fall into the trap of thinking, I have to go to school, get good grades, and I'm sorted. But really, the places that you're going to find inspiration and you're going to learn new skills and develop things and really just learn about yourself and what you find interesting is in those extracurricular, those competitions, pushing yourself and stuff like that. So that's really awesome. I think it's really interesting. I don't think I've told you this before, but I came across the GjejZa app before I'd ever come across you. So I remember reading about it a couple of years ago in the news, and I thought, oh, this is so awesome. And then you applied to Into Law's essay competition challenge. So Into Law is a social mobility innovation that I run myself, and you had applied to that essay competition. And I remember seeing your name and thinking, that name is really familiar. And I searched you up and I saw the app and I was like, oh my God, I've come across this girl before. So that was a really surreal moment for me. And I was so honored that you'd applied to our essay competition. I was like, wow, cool. Out of curiosity, how did you come across that essay competition? Because for me, it seems like you're someone who seeks out opportunities and, you know, you've had these incredible experiences. How do you go about building that? Because some people will say, oh, well, I just don't know these opportunities exist, or I just wasn't aware. How do you kind of encourage that in your life?
So, as I said, it was Technovation and GjejZa that completely changed how I looked at things and how I looked at life and the plans that I was making for my future, and you know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It was after Technovation that I started, you know, looking for things, and trying to create opportunities for myself or seize them when they were right in front of me. And actually, how I came across the Into Law essay competition, it's a funny story because I didn't. A friend did, and she knew I was interested in law. And she sent it to me. But this is a friend that I knew before, but I really connected through Technovation. Nice. So it's just amazing the connections that and the friendships that you build. When you're participating in stuff like this, it's not just that it's something, it's a network, and it helps you in the future when you're working with people closely, and you start thinking and talking about things that you want to do. Okay, we've had this very eye-opening experience. What do we want to do next? Mm-hmm. And you start thinking about stuff like that. And you start talking about things like that with the people around you, and you start building connections. So this friend knew that. I honestly don't remember how she came across that, because she's not interested in law. She's very much a technology person.
It was fate.
STEM person, yeah. But she knew that I was interested in law, and she sent me this, and I was like, here, I came across this, and I thought you'd love it. Check it out. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. And that's how that happened. But I love that you had heard about GjejZa before.
Yeah,
I love that. See, that when I hear things like that, I'm like, we must be doing something right.
Exactly. I literally read about it. I don't remember what news source it was, but I would occasionally, like, as a diaspora, you want to, you know, learn about what's going on. So I'd occasionally tap into that and just see what's been going on in Albania. So when I came across it, I was like, I know I've seen this name somewhere. So I just searched your name and the app came up, and I was like, yes, of course. But yeah, it's really incredible that, you know, we started from there, and now when we were, you know, setting up this podcast, it's all about sharing incredible stories from Albanians. So you immediately came to mind, and I was like, yes, got to get her on the podcast.
The Into Law competition was I cherish that experience because I learned so many things. First of all, I got to write an essay that I had never written an essay like that before, and it was a very helpful experience to have right before starting college.
Yeah.
Because I was definitely a little bit insecure about that going into college, but then I got to write an essay about this topic that I was very, very passionate about, and I got second place.
You did.
That was very reassuring. I was like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine in college.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. You did. You were in the top 3. You got second place. It was an incredible essay, and I was very proud. I was like, yes. Another fellow Albanian. Oh, that makes me really happy. And I think it is just goes to show that these kind of organizations, and it links back to this idea as talking about working in a team and being able to tap into people's knowledge. These kind of things wouldn't be able to work if we weren't supporting one another. So I think that's just a homage to that idea, and it links to your app as well. And so we've kind of moved on a little bit to education, and you're interested in studying law. You're now a student at Harvard University, which is incredible. tell us a little bit about that journey and how you came to applying to Harvard, how you built up that confidence, and just your whole experience in that realm.
Yeah, so before Technovation, I used to be really scared of trying new things. I knew I was good at school, I was good with academics, and so I stuck to that because it was kind of a comfort zone. And I thought, when I finish school and I finally get a job, I'm just gonna be fine. I'm gonna know how to do things. But Technovation taught me that it's very, very important to quote unquote get your hands dirty, and just work on things, because academics is absolutely very important. Education is extremely important, and I'm um, I'm an advocate for that. But it's also very important to experience real life, and Technovation taught me that. And after Technovation, I started seeking out different opportunities. And you're not always going to succeed, but the more you try, the more you build up the confidence. So after Technovation, I started looking into other opportunities. I knew I was very interested in debate because I was always debating in class. Mm-hmm. So when I finally got the opportunity to enter a debating competition between high schools, I took it. Even though I was extremely, extremely scared, I took it. I decided that, I can't be scared anymore, because it's not going to help me. And sometimes you fail, sometimes you have setbacks, and that's all right, because there's a new opportunity that's going to come your way. And eventually, when you fail, it's really not failure, it's a learning experience. I decided to look at it that way. It's a learning experience, and whatever you've learned from a setback, you can apply to the next thing that you're gonna do. So I did debate. I loved it, and doing stuff like that's how I kind of built up the confidence to apply to Harvard. I never would have if it weren't for Technovation and all the things that came after. I still can't say that I was confident applying to Harvard, and be honest, because I wasn't confident. I was like, I'm gonna be rejected. It's so hard, but I can say that I got confidence in the sense that I didn't shy away from applying just because of the thought of failure. I knew that if I didn't do it, I was going to regret it for the rest of my life, even if I was rejected. Because it's they say that you only ever fail at things that you never try. So I thought, let's just try it.
A lot of people make is they just throw away from the opportunity, and like you say, if you close that door without, you're bound to fail because you haven't even tried. So just pushing yourself. And I think it's really cool to hear you say how you just accepted the fear was something there and you just had to get over it, in the sense that I think there's this idea of like, how do I get rid of the fear, or how do I build up the confidence to finally do it? I don't think you can ever really get to that point where you're going to be like, yeah, I'm 100% ready for this.
That's true.
It's just about being like, I accept that there is fear in this. I accept that I might fail, but you know what? I'm okay with that because I'm going to try it and see what happens.
Absolutely. I don't even consider myself a very positive person. I don't have a positive outlook on life, and that's something that I need to work on. But because the first thing that I do is think about all the possible outcomes, all of the things that could go wrong, and I think about the possibilities of failure, all the things that I'm not doing, I may not be doing right, and all of the ways that I could be failing. I think about all of that. I'm really not I'm not a positive person, but I really don't think that you can get rid of fear, and I don't think you should.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I think it's what keeps you going. the stress and the fear. It's what keeps you going. Trying to overcome that feeling is what keeps you going in the end. And I'm kind of grateful actually that I think about all the possible outcomes, because whatever the outcome is in the end, I'm prepared for it.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, and if you never take an opportunity, then there's a 100% chance that you're gonna fail. But if you take it, there is a chance that you're gonna win. You know, however slight, there's a chance that you're gonna get what you want. And however scared you are, having that slight chance is still better than having none at all.
Absolutely. And I think I would say it's okay to like appreciate that. Okay, maybe I'm not the most positive person, or maybe I worry about all the outcomes, but it's just about reframing your mindset and accepting that that is a piece of it. So that's really incredible. So you built up the courage to apply to Harvard. You were still nervous, but you thought you'd give it a go. And when we started this call, you were telling me that this is the exact place you were set down when you found out you'd got into Harvard. How was that whole experience? Tell us about that experience of finding out you'd gotten in and sharing that news with your family and friends.
So when I got the news, it was when the decisions came out, it was 1 a.m. in Albania because of time zones. It's actually a really funny story because I knew the exact date and time when the decisions were going to come out. Yet I had been checking my emails for a week.
Okay.
Every hour. It was crazy. My mom thought I was going crazy. And I think I was. Because I was like, wait, what if they send out rejections first, you know? What if... So I was compulsively checking my emails every hour for like a week, the entire week before the decisions came out. And I was extremely stressed. And my mom and I have kind of this unwritten, you know, rule that whenever I'm super stressed, she'll buy chocolate for me. And when I first started checking my emails for the decision letters a week before they came out, my mom was like, no, my daughter needs chocolate right now. and she brought me a bar of chocolate, and I was so stressed. I was about to open it and eat it, and then I changed my mind. I was like, wait, I feel like people always have like these very cool stories. So let me do something with this. I went to my mom in the kitchen. I put the chocolate in the fridge and I said, Mom, when I get the decision letters, if I'm rejected, I'm going to eat the entire chocolate bar by myself and don't speak to me. But if I get in, I'm going to share the chocolate with everyone. And when the decisions came out, I was right here in the spot. My dad was asleep, my brother was asleep, and my mom was waiting. She was awake. And when I opened the letters, I kind of stared at it for a couple of seconds because I was expecting to read, we are sorry to inform you. And instead I was reading congratulations and something wasn't clicking in my brain. So I was like, this doesn't make sense. What is this? So I just stared at it at first and then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I actually got in. And I woke up my brother. So he was the first person that I told.
Aww.
I woke my brother up and he hugged me. It was so sweet. And then I had to fight the urge to go to my mom and yell, I got in!
Imagine.
So I went to the kitchen, I took the chocolate bar, and I went to my mom, and I handed it to her, and I was like, here, have a piece. And that's how my mom knew that I got in.
I love that story so much. I've heard you tell it to me before, but I just want to hear it again. I want to hear it.
No, I love this story too. During the application process, I was kind of working with a mentor. So I signed up for this program that helped kids that came from low income families or first generation, and help them with the college application process. And I said that I was interested in applying to Harvard, so I got paired up with a Harvard student. And we would have Zoom calls and he would read over my essays. And, you know, we kind of became friends. And we still are friends. We still hang out now that we are classmates.
Okay.
And when I got in, I also wrote an email to him, and I told him the chocolate thing. I was like, I had this agreement with my mom about the chocolate bar, and I said, I regret to inform you that I had to share the chocolate bar with my entire family.
I love that. That's so good. It honestly, it's like so much fun because there's so much stress building up to it, and you put so much pressure on yourself. So finding a way to kind of diffuse that, and once you're in, you kind of want to enjoy that kind of celebration a little bit, and like be like, yeah, I deserve this. I deserve to celebrate and find a cool way to do it. So that's really cool because I definitely did not fight the urge. I just ran downstairs going, I got in. Like, so I think it's cool it's very difficult to be calm and collected, but it's a great story.
Yeah, I wanted to have like a fun, a special story because I feel like a lot of people try to film the moment where they open the decision letters, and I wanted to do that initially. I've been filming the entire day. I've been filming myself the entire day. You know, kind of talking about how I was feeling and my expectations. But then when the moment came to open the decision letter, I couldn't film it. I was like, I can't do it. I really don't want it to be like a bad memory there if in case I get rejected. But the chocolate one was like, the chocolate story is like a little bit more low risk because whatever happened, I still got chocolate. Exactly. So it was kind of a win either way.
So you told us like your chocolate story, which is really great. You built up the confidence, you got in. What has your experience been like so far? What has it been like to move from, you know, Albania, Tirana, which is kind of, to most people, is a country in the middle of nowhere. No one really necessarily knows about it. Although we're changing that slowly. What was it like to then suddenly be at Harvard, one of, you know, the greatest universities in the world?
So this experience has been so many things. It's been scary, it's been overwhelming, terrifying, exciting, and honestly, it's just you start feeling like a different person because the experience is so different. My experience here in Albania is so different from my life at Harvard, and you started to feel yourself, you know, starting to change as a person and starting to see things differently, and you definitely become a lot more independent, especially when you're so far away from home and you have to figure out everything by yourself. You know, you have to go to the bank yourself, you have to go grocery shopping by yourself, and I was so scared at first. It kind of was the same way that it was when I first started Technovation, when I first started working on GjejZa. Exciting, but very overwhelming, and I didn't know where to begin. But, you know, eventually you get the hang of things, and then it just becomes routine. And at some point you're just like, this is my life now, and I like it.
That's really amazing to hear. And I can imagine it was a really scary change, but so incredible. And you know, you've realized that you have so many opportunities there, I'm sure. So it's really exciting. What's been your favorite moment so far? Is there something that comes to mind?
I don't know if I have a favorite moment. Honestly, everything just happens so fast. You're immersed in all of that's happening, where I can't even like build a timeline in my head when everything happened, because everything just happened so fast. It's a you know, life just goes by so quickly there, and I don't know if I have a favorite moment. I know that there were difficult moments, and I know that there were very fun and exciting moments. But one of my favorite parts about it is definitely the people that I met and the friendships that I made. And overall, I'm just very happy with the people that that I have around me there.
I think another very important question: what is the food like? How's that
Oh,
transition?
yeah, I'm afraid I don't have such a positive answer on that.
No,
First of all, I mean, college dining halls, you can never expect like good food.
that's true.
It's not even about the quality of the food, it's about the food itself.
Oh
It's
god.
just no, just because like coming from Albania and being used to traditional food,
Yeah.
good quality food, traditional food, and with the beans and the bread
Yeah.
and the cheese and everything, and you just don't get that. You just don't get that there. It's a completely different experience. It's a completely different things that you have to get used to. Which you do eventually, but that doesn't mean that you like it.
Just have to
So before I came back home, I sent my mom a long list of all the things that I wanted her to cook for me. And we had yufka a couple of days ago,
nice.
and she made a dessert for me today. I can't wait to eat it. So yeah, the food is that's one of like the only things that I prefer here in Albania compared to Harvard or the US in general.
I'm sure you're making the most of your time back in Albania then.
Oh yes.
Before you head on. So you say food is one of the few things that you prefer, really. Do you think then that you'd like to stay on in America, or do you see yourself coming back to Albania? Where's your head at in that sense?
So I think there's 4 years of college ahead, and I'm sure more school after that because I really want to do law. And right now I'm studying government, the Harvard equivalent of political science. I don't know why Harvard is obsessed with making up terms of their own. And I still haven't decided where I want to build my life. Right now, I know what I want to study, and I'm happy with where I am at in my life at this point. And I do welcome things that might happen in the future. I don't know if I want to stay in the US or come back and I don't know, build a life somewhere in Europe. But I do think that it's not impossible, but it's unlikely that I will come back to Albania to live here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important that you're keeping your doors open and there's nothing set in stone. It's interesting that you say you don't necessarily see yourself returning to Albania. Why do you think that is? Is there kind of particular reasons for that?
I do love Albania. I really do. And when I was away, I missed it. I missed a lot of things about it. I missed the food. I missed the scenery. I missed the place and obviously my family and friends. But I missed the country and its traditions and its culture overall. And obviously, I'm going to miss it in the future too. And I'm going to want to come back here to see it. But I don't think I could ever. I don't think I could ever live here again because, well, for the 18 years that I lived here, I never felt appreciated, and I never felt like I had a future here, especially in with the career plans that I have.
Yeah, I think we see that a lot. Our generation, the younger generation, a lot of them don't really see a feasible future staying back home, and we see so many of the generation moving abroad and studying abroad. You've spoken to me before about how sometimes people can perceive this as quite selfish, even with the diaspora, we go abroad, we build our lives, and we don't return back to Albania and help build it up. What would you say to a comment like that?
I used to want to study abroad and then come back and make a difference in my country. I used to be a very idealistic little kid, and to some degree I still am. But when you grow up and you start to open up to the world a little bit more and see a little bit more, you start to notice that things really aren't that simple. There's a lot of things that you might want to do that you can't, that are just not in your hands to fix. They're outside of your reach. And as much as it pains me, and as much as I would like to see real change in Albania, as much as I would like to be part of it, I don't see enough of an effort within our generation for me to come back here and build a life here, because you can't be part of something. You can be part of change when you don't see any change at all.
I completely agree with that. I think I like you, was very idealistic growing up. I would think, yeah, I'm gonna go study my law degree and then I'm gonna go back and change Albania, and there's so many human rights issues and gender-based violence, and you grow up and you realize, like you say, it's not that simple. And there are political powers at play that don't allow for things like that to work out very well. And something I hear a lot is you'll have plenty of young people in Albania who go and study at university, get incredible degrees, do well with their grades, and then there's not an infrastructure to then move on to something better and invest. So I personally don't think it's selfish at all. And I think there's a very real challenge that we face, all of us as Albanians who live there and as diaspora, in terms of how can we try and move towards something that we can have opportunities there that allow us to go back and get involved. So yeah, I completely hear that. So yeah, we spoke a bit about kind of feeling like there's not necessarily the infrastructure to make a change. And I think it kind of links to a bit of brain drain and feeling like you want to make the change happen, you want to do something, but really there's nothing to block them to do that. And the app you created, obviously, it shows that there, sometimes through the cracks and holes, there are little things we can do to improve the situation. So do you think there's something that kind of motivates you to still stay hopeful and to not kind of give up on it completely? Because as you said, you still kind of are a little bit idealistic when it comes to it.
Yeah. I am trying to figure out ways that I could still stay connected to Albania and the situation here, especially with the criminal justice system, which is what I hope to work in the future. I still can't say that I have a plan, but I am hopeful in the sense that I'm hopeful that I will still be able to contribute in some way to what is going on in Albania. I don't think I could. I don't think I could do it from here. I don't think I could live in Albania and try to do that, because I really feel that I would be on my own. I really feel that I wouldn't be able to create meaningful change, and that I would just waste my life and my education trying. I don't think I would ever get the recognition for it, and I don't think I would ever be able to actually make change, make a difference. But I think that I could try while living somewhere else, because I think that Albania is such a small country that no matter what you are, no matter who you are, you don't have a lot of influence. There's so much power that you can have to create change, but being somewhere else, living somewhere else, especially if you do have a position in the system that you want to contribute in. I think you have more of an opportunity to contribute from the outside and from the inside. I really feel like people listen to you more if you've created a life somewhere else. It's somehow it's like you have more credibility.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe things will change in the future, but I don't see that happening in my future, you know. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So I think we just have to try to make change in whatever way it's possible right now, and just hope that eventually, little bit by bit, things get a little better. I only decided that I didn't want to come back to Albania pretty late, because for a big portion of my life after I decided that I wanted to study law and I wanted to get into politics, I was very hopeful. But then when I think maybe the second year of high school, I started to notice that, you know, the new politicians, the new the new lawyers, the new jurors that were coming out of schools, they did not have that in mind. You know, they didn't finish their degrees thinking, oh, we have to work and change Albania. And I don't know if I can blame them entirely, because the system, it's built in this way where in order to be successful, you have to kind of conform to how the system works. And if I stayed here, I feel like I would be pressured to conform as well, and I don't want to. I feel like not conforming and still being able to help might be even easier if I'm not here.
I think there's something really powerful in being able to recognize that and realizing that I can still help to make a change to some extent, but I need to do it my way and the way that's gonna, work best for me. And I think you're right in the sense that just because we're not there doesn't mean we're not contributing in some way. I'd like to think that ALSA, the organization, in some way is contributing by connecting Albanians and creating a community hub. And I think for me, especially, it's really been a way to kind of, get in touch with my culture once again, and just, remember that we can make changes in small capacities. And the GjejZa app absolutely shows that. So you should be very proud of everything you're doing. And I'm so excited for your future to see.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.